For these artworks, I ordered some rusty background prints and some stencils with Temu. Are their cheap materials any good? Watch me test them. Hello Gelli fans! I ordered these paper sheets that are printed with rusty images, sized 15 by 15 centimeters, which is 6 by 6 inches. That looked amazing to me when I saw them online. I am not sure whether an AI produced these images or photos, but probably so. I am not someone who likes to work with pre-manufactured images. I'd rather paint with rusty art materials myself, but these motifs were so intriguing, I just had to get them. I was quite disappointed when I opened them, as the contrasts are not very high, and so they just looked like bad prints to me. Apart from the political incorrectness that it is ordering with Temu. But as a video creator and art producer, I need a lot of material, and sometimes I just have to get the cheap stuff in order to finance the materials I need for this. A lot of art stores and their products are so expensive that I'd say that's not very fair to the artists too. Anyways, I'm not going to send these back to China, of course, so I will work on them a little, print on them a little, and although this is only testing a cheap product and not a serious art video, I thought I'd show you this, and you might decide yourself whether it is so good buying the low quality products. So let's get started. Of course, you can scan the pictures and enhance the contrasts and colors with a digital program, but of course that would be too boring for me. So I will first just add shadows to the mostly capital letters here with pencils and a fine liner. I cannot work with acrylics or any other paints on them because the paper is really very thin. Another con for this product. But look at all these yummy textures here, all those little bumps and holes and pimples and spotty shapes rotting away. Don't you just want to add some depth here badly? As an artist, I live on the grungy and dirty side of life, so I love images of rotting things. This is not as satisfying like creating your own rust images. But by altering these photos a bit, I feel a little grungy, arty, just a tiny bit. I think you can use these for collages if you're into that, but that is not my kind of art, really. I made a collage video. Here is the link if you're interested, but I don't know if I am ever going to make another one. Tell me in the comments if you'd like me to make a collage out of these. I've switched to my fine liner here as I wanted the shadows to be even darker. And always imagine where the sunlight is coming from. So if your sun is on the top left, you have to place the shadows to the right and lower the underside of the letters. So this one is a little different, and I really need the fine liner here because you probably wouldn't see too much of a pencil because the contrast is even worse. And I just love how these little shapes come to life. I just can't stop marveling at that. I'm so vain. There are also some dots and pimples here that have to be shadowed. If you're wondering, I don't do any white highlights for these. Just a feeling I get that they would look too artificial. So here's a third one that I'm working out, and after that I'm going to try to print on them. This is so crazy. You don't even know what numbers or letters they really are. And that's very intriguing, I think. Especially with this one, you see the deep holes in the rusted iron. You can, of course, make the shadows a lot larger, and it will just add to the 3D effect. I wonder if really an AI made these rusty images. I don't know, maybe someone took a lot of photos of rusty things and just kept them. Okay, I lied. Here's still a fourth one that I'm working out, but only for the next few seconds. And now for the printing with the gel plate. I'm unpacking some of the stencils that I bought with Temu as well. And some of them are not cut out correctly, so you might have to work a little on them. But other than that, they're very good quality, I think. I am not printing on the letters that I just worked out. I take some fresh ones here. This is my small Gelli Plate here. And after all these years of printing, it has taken on some green color. But still, I am amazed, like after years, they still work so well. Because the green tone doesn't do anything to the prints. I've inked up with a black distress ink pad. Later I'll be using acrylics too. And I'm just going in the holes here with a deli paper, and you can see the image is a little faint. And I'm printing it on this background. And actually it's just what I wanted. I wanted the print to be so light so that I can decide where I let the background rust stay, or the interesting background, where I leave it, and where I'm gonna paint or draw on. So I'm working out the stencil shapes, and while I'm doing this, I'm just noticing, oh, what I'm doing here is I'm working out the holes between the shapes. And it's very different from the actual stencil that I used, because this inspires me to make some flower-like shapes. And I'm adding quite a bit of shadows here and some highlights later. And this one I really like. And I think out of this, what I'm doing today, this is going to be the only one that's really can be called a real artwork, because I altered the background so much. And here's the question of the week. I made quite some paintings with rusting materials. Those are also kind of expensive. And I wanted to ask you if you're interested to see me painting one. I don't think it's gonna work with a Gelli Plate, but who knows? I could try it. And yeah, just tell me if you're interested in that. Here are some examples of my rusty paintings. Some of them are really large. None of them were made with a Gelli Plate. And quite a few of them were made with cling film. So I'm going on with this one here, and the more I work the flower shapes out, the more I love it. And yeah, but still you can see that the rusty color is kind of faded. It's not strong enough. Here I'm already thinking about how to work out more. Do I leave the interesting background between the flowers, or are they inside the flowers? But I decide that I'm gonna work out the flowers themselves and leave the background. I'm using a blue here because it would go well with the rust with the brown. Blue and brown is always an eye catcher. And I'm highlighting and painting the flowers white. It's a transparent white actually, and the stems are a little less transparent. And sometimes it's real tricky how to decide which part to work out. I just love the white of the Caran Luminance series. People keep asking me about it. It's really the highest pigmented pencil in white that I know of. So the Caran is, I only have one Caran pencil, and that's the white. Other than that, I usually work with Polychromos by Faber-Castell. And I'm cutting this short just a little here, because I already think I'm boring you to death, maybe. And I'm leaving it like this. Very happy with this one, basically because I made it my own, just with the help of a few pencils. There's more experiments with the stencils coming up, but I don't work them out as much. Some of these images really work well as landscapes, I think. So I'm again with the Distress Oxide. Again, I want to make this a seascape, and I have this sea wave stencil for it that you see on the left down there. I'm taking the ink off up there with a baby wipe, because I don't want to print a rim. So I'm just printing through the stencil here. I really like this one. So I'm gonna make another one like this. This time I'm going through the stencil directly on the paper with these little brushes that are really for makeup. Also bought them at Temu, and they work wonderfully. So this one I want to work out just a tiny bit by enhancing the wavy patterns, because they're in some places they are too light. And I found out you can treat those pads, the Distress Oxide ink, you can treat them like watercolor. You just put a tiny amount of water on your brush, and then you can pick it up and paint it on directly. I wanted to show you that. Here's a close-up so you can see how great this works. I'd say this is almost finished, but what I really want is a horizon. So I'm just adding a horizon line and painting it, drawing it with a blue pencil. Just very lightly. When you look at this texture back there, I think of drawing some clouds and even like a very fading sun or moon. I think it's a sun in this case, complete with a reflection in the water. And just a hint of some clouds back there to add some interest. You could really do a lot more with this one, but I'll leave it like that. Another stencil that is a spider web, and again I'm printing directly with the stencil. I'm inking it up with an opaque white acrylic by Liquitex and applying it on the chosen image. In case you noticed, I'm recording in the garden. Instead of a snoring dog, today you get some bird sounds. I take care that the paint on my fingers will not be ruining my print. When I take the stencil off, I can see that it printed well. But I'm not so sure, but I think it doesn't inspire me to work anything out, because background and stencil were not made by me. Or maybe I'm just afraid of spiders. This is the last print I'll show you, using another Temu stencil representing water reflection and water spray on top. It's not a very convincing design, I'd say, but I'll try it with the opaque acrylic white again. Placing it on the gel plate and taking out most of the paint through the openings. Yeah, well, not such a convincing design as I thought. I made another one on a greenish background, picking it up with an acrylic gold that I didn't film though. Well folks, that's all for today. I hope this helped you decide whether you trust those cheap materials. I'd say it is always so much more satisfying to make the backgrounds yourself. Had fun with these though, and I hope you had too. Next week I'll be featuring Easter grass prints. Till then, bye!